Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully the audio picks up this time. Um, so this is a walkthrough tutorial on how to take and adjust your images for your project using PowerPoint to simply manipulate the images. Um, so this is the PowerPoint from class, and these are the images that we saw when we were together. Um, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate. We're going to stop writing on my slides. That's what we're going to do. We're going to select all of the pictures. And if you hold shift down on your keyboard, you can select multiple pictures. We're going to do a control button, hold the control button and hit C to copy them. And we're going to put in a new slide and we're going to paste them in there. And this is what happens sometimes in PowerPoint when you paste images in. The one that's online at school has a tendency to want to redesign it for you. So we're going to go ahead and close that out so it stops trying to do that. Okay, now we have our pictures, and the first thing we want to do is crop all of our pictures. So I'm going to right click on the picture, and it should give you some options. Let me see. It did not give me the option there that I was looking for. So I'm going to click on the pictures to highlight them. Oh, maybe it's because I had all of them. There we go. I'm going to right click on a picture, and there is the crop tool. That's going to bring up these black handles, and we can use the black handles, not the picture. You got to grab the handle. There we go. If you grab the dot here, this is the scaling handle, which will change the size. We'll use those again in a little bit. But for now, what we want to use is the corner black cropping handles. And we're going to trim off the excess photo as quickly as we can here. We don't want to make this video too long. So we'll just pop in here. Okay. And in here. All right. And we're just going to repeat that for all of them. I'm grabbing the picture. You know, and you don't have to get super duper tight or be really persnickety about it. You just want to get rid of a lot of the background information. So we got our crop here. I like to use the corners because it allows me to adjust two sides at once. You can also grab out in the middle, although the middle one seems to be kind of hard to grab a hold of right now. So interesting. There we go. I have to say I'm not overly impressed with PowerPoint's image manipulating. It used to be better than this, but it will still get the job done. You don't have to have exactly the right tool. You can, however, go download GIMP 2.0 and do this in a layers-based program. Just create a file, start with a file that's 8.5 by 11, and scale your pictures on different layers. Okay, so now we have all of our pictures and we can move them around and organize them. And if you can remember correct from class, and if we look down here, I had them organized like this, where they were all lined up with each other. So that's what we're going to do. And in order to do that, we're going to need to rotate some of them. So we're going to rotate these and line them up. It does do a nice little snap feature where it'll put the center, it'll line them up together. But they're still not all the same size, right? So we are going to need to do some manipulating on that front. We'll leave these two out of the way for right now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to notice is we're going to print these out. We want them to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to start over here and we're going to grab one of these handles. We grab a corner handle and we scale it. Then it will keep the ratio. You see how it looks just bigger. If you grab the side handles and pull on them, you can really skew them and make them look wrong, right? If you happen to do that, just let go, hold down the control key and hit Z, and that will undo that. So we're going to start with this one here, and then we're going to move the other ones over and we're going to scale them up till they're pretty close. Now, if you look at this, I have this picture running one direction and this picture running the other direction. I'm going to flip that over so that my photos are aligned with each other. So this is the front, and this is the front, and this is the back, and this is the back. Okay, this one is oriented correctly, so we're going to go ahead and scale it up. And then this one is oriented correctly, so we'll scale that one up too. Okay, so then this is a good place to start, although I'm starting to notice a few things that we're going to need to deal with right away. First and foremost, these two pictures are pretty darn good, and if I do say so, I think they look pretty good and square with each other. One's one side and one's the other. This object's also symmetrical, so I could have copied this picture and just made a mirror image, but that's not what we're doing. We're trying to do something else. These two, though, I'm noticing this base here seems really, really wide compared to the base over here. And I don't know which one's correct. If I look at my actual stapler, I notice that this proportion looks more accurate to my design than the other one does. So I'm going to rotate these and I'm going to scale them to each other so that, yeah, see how skinny the nose? This edge and this edge should be the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a shape, and that's where we can draw a line. In this case, I'm going to make my line orange, and I'm going to make it a little thicker. It's a little easier for you guys to see. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line, and it's going to give me one that's straight. It has some snaps, so it kind of automatically straightens. So that's not straight. That's pretty good. Okay, we're going to bring that up. Okay, and we're going to line it up there. We're going to copy and paste another line, horizontal line. So I hit Control C and then Control V to copy and paste. And so now we can see I have quite a bit of this that's overlapping and overhanging. So what I want to do is I'm going to select this picture. I'm going to grab one side of it. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so that it lines up with the line on this side. Now the gap on the back looks about the same. I'm going to do the same thing from the top, bring the top down a little bit. And those two are now lined up. Now the next thing I'm going to do is check them lengthwise. And the length looks pretty good. So in this case, we're going to copy and paste. We're going to flip this around, make it 90 degrees. You know, it's a vertical guideline now. Okay, but again, we need to flip this one all the way over. So we're comparing apples to apples. All right, and you can see the bottom of this edge actually runs underneath this nose a little bit. And I think that has a little bit to do with the camera issue that I was talking about when you take your photos. I don't think I was far enough away, or I might have been angled. I wasn't quite on center. But it does look like it needs to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. And now these two are proportional with one another. This butt end here and this butt end here are together. I can go ahead and move this one over here, and you can see they're pretty close together, and that's going to be good enough for what we're doing. If this was a little bit different project, we needed to be more precise, we could be. But in this case, I think we're going to be okay. So we have our vertical guidelines, our horizontal guidelines. So we're going to take these two pictures, and we're going to go ahead and reorient them and get them lined up with one another. Okay. And then we'll bring all of our long side pictures together, and we're going to go ahead and move our guideline down. Okay, so that we're lined up. We're going to move our guideline to the top here, and we can see in this case that this image needs to be scaled down a little bit. It's too tall. Okay, so now we're closer to where it needs to be. That looks pretty good, and that one looks pretty good, and they all look to be the same height. Now, I may want to just check. Whew, too much dust in my shop today. I'm going to check and make sure that they're the same height, just in case one of them got distorted off of another one. So see, this one is a little bit squished, and I think we're going to go with this one over here. So we're going to go ahead and stretch that up to fit. And this one, it looks like maybe we could just rotate it a little bit. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. They're pretty darn close to each other. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rotate these pictures back into alignment with the other vertical ones. Now, I'm also going to move them here just to line them up a little bit more accurately. And the way you can do that is you select the picture and use your arrow keys. And it allows you to just nudge them in line with one another. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and bring over our front view. Okay, and we need to bring over our vertical guidelines. We can just grab those and drag them over. So the front of this is the same as the front of this. So we need to shrink that up a little bit. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then in the case of this one over here, we're going to make a copy. We're going to select this picture. We're going to copy and paste it. We'll bring it over, and we're going to flip it around. And the butt end of this one should line up with this. This is this part here from a different angle. So I'm going to copy paste another set of guidelines. I'm going to bring those over here. And now I need to shrink this one down so that it fits in between. And I'm not adjusting the height yet. I'm just adjusting the width. So that makes more sense. That matches up with that. Okay. And then the height of this back should match up with some part of one of these other ones. So let's go ahead and delete that image. We don't need it anymore. We know this is the right width. And honestly, I think it's probably about the right height. For looking at the back, let's rotate this one 90 degrees real quick. It is not the right height. If we line that up with the bottom, the top of this should be all the way up here. Something like that. Okay, so now we have them all adjusted. And we've adjusted the height, although that doesn't quite make sense up here. So maybe this height isn't quite right. So we're going to adjust that back down because these heights should match. And then we're going to bring this one in. We're going to bring it to right here. We're going to bring this down until it matches the height of this one. Okay. We can roll this one over. So in the photos and in loading them into PowerPoint, this image got distorted. So we can go ahead and staple that. And if I look at my actual stapler and I look at that, those proportions feel right. Without measuring them and without checking them, I can usually just tell by looking if it feels off. So take a minute and use your eyeballs to judge whether or not your photos match up with the proportions of the thing you're looking at, and make adjustments as you need to. Okay, so that is phase 1 and 2, cropping and sizing the images to one another to get as accurate of a representation as you can. And then the other part you need to do for your homework is print them out, and using different colors of markers or pencils or whatever you have, trace the main contours, which will be the outside of the actual forms. Use another color to do structural lines that you can see, like on here, there's a line right here So there's the main contour, and here's an interior contour line. And then also add any lines that you might see that are like surface texture decoration. So in this case, you've got the line of swing line, you've got this metallic line in here, you've got this hole, you've got the textured holes on the bottom. And hopefully that will get you where you need to go. And we'll talk about the math and scales and ratios in class tomorrow.